back to the Zach Jellup Show, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, it is a Friday, and what a day we have. It's 18 degrees, sunny outside. Patrick Van Straten is joining me. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm pumped for the heat.
Indeed, indeed. Spring has started, but we've got a new guy here making his debut on the podcast. Has been on the channel before. Ollie Thomas, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me.
Mate, thank you so much for coming on. I do appreciate it. Now, as you can see by the title of this video, we've got a big one. We're going to be looking at every single position, obviously there are only 11 of them, in a 4-3-3 and picking the best squad so far for this season. That's how we're doing it. We're taking out all other kind of achievements, whether they've won the Champions League 5 times, whatever it might be. It's all about this season, and that's how we're going to go. Sure. So without further ado, me and Patrick are going to be suggesting a player for each position, and then Ollie is going to have the final deciding vote for who he wants in his team. And on top of that, Ollie's going to have 2 overrules. So if he doesn't like what we suggested, he can actually go, no, you know what, guys, your 2 suggestions are bad. I'm going with this player. So without further ado, Patrick Van Straten, I'm going to give you the honours and kick things off with our goalkeeper.
Okay, so I've gone a little bit off-piste for this because I don't know. I think that about 10 years ago there was much more diversity in the quality of goalkeeping. Like back then, there were keepers where they were like, that guy can't play with his feet at all, for example. And you would have in the Premier League keepers who were the best in the world in that position, and also keepers who were like pub level goalkeepers. It's kind of how it felt. Now I think the standard is much higher, and there's lots of competition for very young goalkeepers. So I wanted to highlight somebody who I think has really put himself in the shop window this season, and that is Chevalier of Lille. So Lille have obviously had a pretty good season. Like, they're just outside the Champions League places in France, but they're like 3 points away, so they could still end up there. And the only team who's got a better defence than them in France, PSG. But also in the Champions League, they made it through to the knockout stages. They ended up in a very close tie with Borussia Dortmund, so they could easily have made it through there. And we saw him have a really exceptional performance in that second leg against Dortmund. Yeah. Like a bunch of amazing saves. But more importantly, they wouldn't have got to that position in the Champions League without him excelling in the group stage. Like, despite playing, whatever it is, 10 games overall in the Champions League, he's saved his team 2.5 goals above expected goals, which is enormous. Like, if a goalkeeper ended on that at the end of a season, then that would be very good. But he did that in 10 games in the Champions League. And when you think what that means to Lille, you know, getting out of the group stage, getting through to the round of 16, that is a huge benefit that he's had for that club. He's also really good with his feet. Like, this season, I think his playmaking has kind of has really blossomed. And I've seen people tout him as a possible Ederson replacement for Manchester City. I don't think that's ridiculous. He's younger than you would expect. You know, if you got a young goalkeeper and they were 25, 26, you'd be happy. To have a guy who's 23 and looks like he can compete at the highest level is really, really special. But anyway, 3 goals above expectation in Ligue 1 as well. If they end up making the top 4, I think it'll be pretty much off the back of his work. I think that City should be in for him in the summer. I think that Chelsea... Look, I'm not going to advocate for Chelsea buying more goalkeepers. They've got enough goalkeepers. But if Chelsea wanted a good goalkeeper, as opposed to all the guys they apparently hate, then Chevalier would make a lot of sense for them. I just think that he's having a really good season and actually making a difference. Whereas there are loads of goalkeepers we can highlight who are very, very good. But if you Alisson, for example, is amazing. Like, arguably the best goalkeeper in the world. At the same time, during the stretch he missed this season, Liverpool didn't seem to mind that much. Kelleher, and maybe that's about how good Kelleher is. We'll find out. But I just think that, you know, Chevalier has been a standout on that team, one of the standout players on that team, and their position is down to him.
Okay, now Pat has gone for the hipster's choice,
and
I was looking at a few different goalkeepers.
Am I a football hipster enough to even know who Chevalier is?
Welcome, Mundial.
And so, I was looking at a few of these guys, and when you look at statistically, there are a lot of goalkeepers who are performing really well this season. However,
not the one you're about to bring, though.
It's easier to talk about these guys statistically because when they're playing in a worse team, they're facing more shots, they're having to kind of prevent more goals, and that's why they're like XG against and save percentage, all this kind of stuff can be highly increased. Like Jordi Petrovic, he's obviously one of these Chelsea goalkeepers having a fantastic season at Strasbourg. However, he's also facing a lot more shots than the likes of Alisson and so on and so forth. But the one guy I wanted to bring up, and it's kind of hard not to talk about this guy, and I know I mentioned previously about we don't want to bring their history in, but when you do speak about him, he does kind of involve it as well, his finals and his impact in finals. But Thibaut Courtois, this guy
his history's not relevant.
He's not relevant. Sure.
You said it wasn't relevant.
Okay, fine, absolutely fine.
Otherwise, like Peter Schmeichel.
Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. No, but Thibaut Courtois, who is now 32 years old, has come off a season where he was injured for most of last year, having to come back into this Real Madrid side. Real Madrid have looked at possibly trying to get a better backup goalkeeper, the Ukrainian Lunin, who at times they've looked to possibly move on and bring in. So they had Kepa Arrizabalaga there last season, but no one's quite been able to displace Thibaut Courtois, and that's not a surprise because he is probably the best goalkeeper in the world. And if there is a goalkeeper, if you are playing a final tomorrow, I don't know if there's another goalkeeper out there who you'd say maybe Alisson is the other guy to compete with him for this. But he's done this for such a long time now. But this season he's back in the sticks. He's missed a couple of games through injury. I think it's like 4 games he's missed through injury, an abductor injury. But he has continued to be very impressive in that goal for Real Madrid. He isn't like we know what he's like. He's not a ball-playing goalkeeper who's a master with the ball at his feet like others are out there. But what he is amazing at is this shot-stopping ability. We saw him most recently against Man City in the Champions League. When he is in these big games, he's always there to stand up for that team. And look, this is a Real Madrid team as well who they are their first thought is always about going forward, and they have all the players they're playing are always thinking about going forward, whether it's Jude Bellingham in midfield, Vinny and all these guys aren't tracking back all the time to help the team. And so it's not like he's not facing a lot of shots, or he's not facing teams who are able to kind of pick Real Madrid off. We've seen Real Madrid at times be played through, but he is normally the guy that is always there, always the shot, saving the shots that need to be saved, and when he's making himself big in one-on-one situations, he is a monster to get past with his 6'6" frame. So that is my suggestion. Thibaut Courtois, a little bit of maybe I'd say an easier one just because of his kind of, I guess, history to it. But leave aside the history. Do you want to go with someone who is one of the best in the world, or someone who could be? That's up to you, Ollie.
We've got two completely opposing picks there of the ultimate hipster pick and the best goalkeeper in the world. We're going to talk about goals prevented. I saw the other day that Mark Travers is in the top 3 of goals prevented in the Premier this season. Which is mental. He's only played 5 games.
Ridiculous.
I quite like the Chevalier shout actually. I think it's quite fun.
Yes.
Why not?
My fellow Arsenal fan.
because Leo,
as everyone says online.
I'm going to have to stop you right there. I'm going to no. I think that's quite... Lille in the Champions League, obviously, they were quite a big story, weren't they, in the early group stages, so I like that. I am really big on Courtois. And I think if you were to ask me next month or when there's been more deep Champions League games, I'd probably go Courtois.
And if they win the league as well, then who knows?
Okay, no, fair enough. All right, we'll have the fun little pick with Pat's in goal. But we'll start off with defence, and I'll go first with the right back here. Now, I was thinking about Jules Koundé. Obviously, Barcelona having a stellar season. I've definitely got Barcelona players to talk about later on. However, I wanted to talk about someone a little bit more fun. Obviously, Jules Koundé is much more of a defender, definitely doing okay on the ball, but someone who is basically absolutely ripping it up this season, Hakimi at right back for PSG. If you look at the numbers for him, he is basically, for fullbacks, in the top 1% for nearly every metric. For attacking, going forward, passes into the box, progressive passes, dribbles, assists per 90, expected, all this kind of stuff. Goals, touches in the opponent's box. He is just one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world so far this season. A lot of talk about PSG, and again, rightfully so, has been about Dembélé obviously having a stellar season, Barcola, the midfield obviously being rejuvenated, Luis Enrique obviously after that, Liverpool result as well, getting lots of praise. And Hakimi's kind of, I think, gone a little bit under the radar here. And that's fair enough. You're going to talk about the attacking players who are making all of these in very, very impressive performances. However, I know they lost 1-0 in one of the games against Liverpool. They also kept a clean sheet in the other game and did very, very well on that front. And Hakimi is a part of that. I think everyone wants to talk about Hakimi as this attacking fullback, and he is, and he's stellar at it, and one of the best in the world. But defensively, he's not terrible either. One of the things that always goes against Trent Alexander-Arnold is his defensive work rate, his ability to get beaten really easily in a one-on-one situation. And look, I won't say Hakimi is the best in the world at being a defensive player, but he's not too bad either. Like he can get by on that side absolutely fine. Yeah. This is someone who, through the last couple of years, when you are talking about best right backs in the world, I don't know if he actually is ever in the conversation sometimes. Everyone wants to talk about Trent, and it's fair enough because he's absolutely exceptional on the ball. When Reece James was fit, everyone talk about Reece James, and maybe there's a Premier League bias, and when you think of PSG, you think, well, he's playing in Liga, and of course his numbers are going to be boosted a little bit, and they are, of course, but you see him in the Champions League so far this season, and he is absolutely crazy. So yeah, I will go with the guy who at right back has currently 16 goals and assists in the season.
Damn.
He's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, that
could have been better in the league phase, I would say.
Well, they are top of the league.
Is he?
On the Champions League.
Phase of the Champions League.
Yeah, but they were gelling a little bit more. Like even you think of that PSG side that played you guys.
Arsenal.
They're not the same PSG side now. I mean, what? They also have Scallion
you're
as well.
telling me they were crap.
Is he their captain, Hakimi? Is he PSG's captain?
Marquinhos is, but he's like I think he's like one of the.
Yeah.
You know, they like make a group.
Yeah,
he's like
I like a leader in my team, so I'm just got to keep that in mind. You know?
Okay.
And Morocco as well. So we're not going to bring it up.
Okay. Well, I've got a more unconventional pick. I've got Fede Valverde.
Oh, yeah, I quite like that.
So he split his minutes obviously between central midfield and right back this season, and the fact is that when you look at La Liga, like the title race there, all the three top teams, and actually Athletic Club as well, have all conceded roughly the same amount of expected goals. Like the defense is pretty much even, and what's making the difference right now is the quality of the attack. It's Barcelona's, then Real Madrid's, then Atleti's. For the defense to be that good, despite having, I would say, quite a passive style, I don't think Ancelotti's done his greatest coaching job this season. I think is a testament to a bunch of guys stepping up when they needed to. That includes Chouameni playing centre-back, Fran Garcia getting minutes at left-back, Raul Asensio making the step up from the youth team. But Fede Valverde has actually played really well as a kind of shut-down right-back. Like, you would imagine if you got that ball-carrying, hard-running midfielder to play right-back, that maybe they'd be useful in possession, they might be useful getting forward, but you'd expect them to be a bit of a liability defensively. Defensively, he's been incredibly good. Yes. If you look at his tackle success, it's at like 2/3, which for a fullback is incredibly high. But he's still maintaining very, very high progressive passing numbers. He's super involved in play. He's an attacking outlet. We saw against Atletico Madrid some of their most dangerous moments, and I thought they were pretty bad in the game. Some of their more dangerous moments were when he got past this marker on the flank and would drill a low ball across the box. And I just think that having this guy in your side who has the physical gifts and the technical gifts to play 3 or 4 positions, who always seems like he is giving his absolute maximum, has kept them in contention. It's got them through in the Champions League despite a horrible league phase. It's kept them in contention for the title, which they could yet win. And I've never been like, there are people who love Valverde and say like he's one of the best in the world and blah blah blah. And it's not like I totally disagree with that. I guess I just don't like have a love for the player in the way I do. Some players you're just like, he's great, but he doesn't like do it for me. But I've been so impressed by his application this season, and I do think that when they were working things out with the attack in the autumn, when they've been working things out with the defense post-Christmas, Valverde has been a real constant, a guy who what he's going to deliver. And I think sometimes with players, we talk about so-and-so going out and having a 10 out of 10 game. And I think there are lots of positions, central midfield and the defensive positions particularly, where what's more important is never having a game that's below a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
And Valverde, I don't know if I've ever seen him have a game that's below a 7 out of 10. He's just always
consistent.
His floor level is really good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I do love a flying fullback. I feel like they're coming back a bit. Fullbacks that are really up and down. But
not if you're Enzo Maresca. Get in midfield, son.
Flying fullback, CDM. But one thing I like about Valverde is I think he really personifies like one really important part of Real Madrid's identity, which just how are you that good? Just like almost unconditionally. Like he's not like one of the star attackers, but there's such a core of players in that team that just like you can put them anywhere in any scenario and they will just find a way of making it work and will still somehow be the best in the world and you don't really know how. So, and also Danny Carvajal's Ballon d'Or charge last year was a disgrace to football. So I'm glad that Valverde's come in at right back and shown that
he can do
anyone
it
can do it.
Anyone
really.
can do it.
So I'm going to go Valverde. As you can see, a lot of my takes are a bit irrational and based purely on emotion.
Valverde can also, when footballers absolutely punt a ball, absolutely strike, he can do that.
He's one of the best ball strikers.
He can kick a ball very hard.
He really can. It's like what I used to love about John Duran. He could just absolutely smash
through it every time.
Okay then, all right. I'll let you have Valverde as well, Pat, because I think that was absolutely fair enough. Do you want to go with the right centre back first option?
All right. Yeah, sure.
I need to make sure it's balanced. I'm a crippling people pleaser.
No. You got to do what you got to do.
As long as you try and please this person.
Yeah, I completely disagree with Zach, but I'm picking you anyway.
Fair enough.
Centre backs. Are we doing them separately?
I think we do right back. Yeah, we do. You pick a right centre back, and then we do a left centre back. Right. Definitely.
I'm not going to go into huge detail on either of my centre backs because I think they're like self-evidently great. I've got William Saliba as my right-sided centre back. Arsenal defence is still the best in the league this season.
Did you go with Saliba in the end?
I did go with Saliba.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Oh, did I? No, I think I might have gone with Gabriel.
No, you're right centre back.
No, I've gone for Van Dijk. Okay,
but you've said Saliba if you want to go Saliba.
No, I'll do Van Dijk. No, because I don't want to do both of Arsenal's centre backs, and I do think that Arsenal are a better defensive team in every phase of play. I think than Liverpool. Which makes Van Dijk's performance all the more impressive in a way. Like, I think if you look at any part of Liverpool's team as defensively weak, then it is that layer between the attack and the defence, right? Where you've got like McAllister, Gravenberch, you've got Trent, and you've got Robertson. Like those are the guys who are kind of just in front of the centre backs. And I'm not saying those are bad players or whatever, and they've played very well this season, but they are not like world beaters defensively.
Yeah.
At least at this stage of their career, in the case of Robertson. Kanate and Van Dijk have to do an awful lot.
Yeah, they do.
They have to do
really
an awful lot in that team. And they do it with like minimal fuss. Van Dijk, the fact that Liverpool's defence is even comparable to Arsenal's this season, I think is kind of astonishing, given that they've also dialed down the press. They let Salah kind of not really help out defensively in order to give him, more chances on the break. But Van Dijk, to see a mistake from him is like vanishingly rare at this point. And he should be past his peak. So I don't know. I don't really know like how to describe his greatness, because I do just think you see it when you watch. He wins every aerial duel. He looks like he's never in trouble. He's an incredibly important distributor. He clearly is the leader of the team. And he's still absolutely world class as he approaches his mid-30s. Like, we're not far away from that now.
Yeah.
He's getting on. Okay, fair enough. Look, I was kind of thinking, look, do I go with Saliba as the easy challenge to a Van Dijk? Sure. And I thought, no, I'm going to be the hipster in this one. Because there is a certain 18-year-old at Barcelona who is doing ridiculous things for 18 years old. Yeah. Pau Cubarsí is just... Considering he came in last season, he's not like this huge defender who's 6'4", like the likes of Van Dijk or Saliba. He's not even 6 foot. I think he's about 5'11", and he's maybe one of the best. He's so maybe
Spanish defenders.
It is, but he's maybe one of the best ball-playing centre-backs, not just in the Liga, but in the world.
Yeah.
He's doing ridiculous things for Barcelona. I mean, Hansi Flick obviously must have gone into that side, saw him in the academy and thought, oh my God, what have we got on our hands here? He's doing such an impressive job for them. And look, this is also not just like he's not playing for a football team who are maybe a little bit more safe with the way they play their defence. Barcelona are playing a super high line, and he is doing a very, very good job at playing in this defensive structure. Now, look, he's conceded more goals than the likes of Saliba and the likes of Van Dijk, but that is because of the way they are playing. And the way they are playing attacking-wise is also beneficial to having Cubarsí in that side. It's really hard to judge a defender as a teenager. I always think. Like, defenders are someone, when they get to 23, 24, you can kind of see what they're like. And so for someone at 18 years old, and who actually joined the side when he was just recently turning 17, I remember his game against PSG in the quarterfinal of the Champions League last season. But again, not to bring history of last season into it, but he is so young and looks so established, so set already in this Barcelona defence. It's ridiculous. He's making nearly 100 passes a game, 90 passes a game, compared to someone like Saliba, who's not even making 70. It is different in terms of the league as well. Like, Barcelona are going to have more of the ball. They're going to be playing a lot more kind of shorter passes like he does. But he's also winning more aerial duels than the likes of Saliba. And as I mentioned, he's not as tall as Saliba by any stretch. And so that is all very, very impressive. And then you look at the games he's played this season. He's part of the team that beat Bayern Munich 4-1. He beat Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. He's beaten Real Madrid 4-0 and 5-2. And most recently, obviously, beat Atletico Madrid. This is someone who... Barcelona in the last few years, it felt like there was a solid period where they didn't really look at their academy. Or maybe their academy didn't produce the players they felt like could have got into the side. But in the last 3 seasons, we are now seeing them produce absolute ridiculous talent. Maybe 5 seasons, actually. Thinking of like Pedri and so.
He's not really an academy.
Yeah, I guess they brought him in, and even the other midfielder, Gavi as well. But then Lamine Yamal's come in. The DM Caicedo's obviously doing
they also have
jobs.
Bernal, who got injured at the start of the season. They've got Valverde playing.
They've gone into their academy there and got these guys. But Cubarsí is someone who it's worrying actually to think what he might be like in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
Because he could be this absolute elite ball playing centre back.
Nah, he'll still be under 6 foot.
Well, he will still. Well, you never know. You never know. He's 18, mate.
He's only little. He might have a growth spurt.
Exactly.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm 26 and mine's coming.
Pat as well. So there you go. You've got either Virgil van Dijk, who's having an okay season, or Cubarsí, who's 18 years old and could very well win the Champions League and
he might not win the league.
Liverpool
will win the league.
Hips to pick him, my friend.
When you were talking about Van Dijk, I was like, God, that's a really good pick. Like, I don't really know who could be better. And I actually thought, Cubarsí could be someone who I'm like, that could.
There's a bit more to dream with Cubarsí.
Yeah. Again, I'm a romantic in football. Like, I really like when a team goes into their academy. I'm a big academy fan like that. Sure. And I think, like, obviously, given the financial strife the Barca are in, and how like they then went, let's just go into La Masia and bring in all these amazing players who apparently have just been sat there and we've not done anything with them. But Van Dijk has been amazing, obviously. But obviously he's been amazing. He's Van Dijk.
Exactly. There is an element where you're used to it, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, Cubarsy's like best case scenario is to be a player as good as Van Dijk. Like Van Dijk is an historically good centre back.
Maybe
Cubarsí is like really amazing right now and in a really good team, but
it's all about right now. But it's all about right now.
Yeah. But I'm still saying that like part of what makes him amazing here is you're
the
saying,
potential.
he's 18. He's 18. He's 18.
Yeah.
Well, if he was 30, would we be talking about him as much? We'd still be talking about him because he's been great, but we wouldn't be talking about him as much.
He has won a trophy already this season.
His age shouldn't matter.
Van Dijk hasn't won a trophy yet, has he, this season?
He's basically won the title.
This is. You know what? I'm going to go with my heart and not my head. I'm going to go with Cubarsí.
Yeah. That's fine.
But Van Dijk has been.
I can't judge.
He has been a top. I mean, Van Dijk has probably objectively been better, but I just think that's a fun pick.
It is.
It's all about fun. Football's about having fun.
That is it. We can all sit here and play all these guys. Okay, so my other centre back option. Obviously, we know Pat's going to go with Gabriel, but I'm picking a left-footed centre back as well. And I went over to Italy. It's kind of a boring answer because he is obviously absolutely astounding. Alessandro Bastoni.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, been the kind of left-footed centre-back, hasn't he? Can play in the back 3, can play in the back 4, played left wing-back at times this season. He's so good on the ball.
Got sent off in his last game, though.
Yeah, so did Cubarsí. So did Cubarsí as well. I was looking at both.
A discipline problem in your centre-back partnership there.
Maybe. But yeah, obviously, just he is somebody who I think when people have kind of inquired about him, Inter kind of laugh it off by almost suggesting you got to pay at least 80 million here to get anywhere near his services. Obviously, they brought him in from Atalanta a couple of seasons ago. But yeah, this year, Inter, whilst I think Serie A is a lot tighter so far this season, it kind of feels like probably what will happen is Inter will end up winning it, I think. And Bastoni's a huge part of that. He is in that Inter Milan spine. They are obviously under an incredible manager, and he's only still like 25 years old. This isn't someone who's super old or getting towards, like he's not even at his peak age yet, really. But yeah, can do he's the modern day centre back. Great in the air, brilliant with the ball at his feet, can drive forward with it, but also a fantastic Italian defender, having a lot of the kind of historic Italian defenders are. But yeah, that's my pick for Bastoni. I thought that was a little bit easier.
Solid pick.
I think that's a really good shout. And I think if Inter are going to have a chance, well, I'm going to talk about Inter in a minute. But Gabriel, look, I think Saliba is more talented. I think we can probably agree on that. And he's more valuable because he's younger. But I do think that the stable base of this Arsenal team this season has been Gabriel. Yeah. And I do think that while Saliba is generally great, I often think that in the big games, the guy who finds his highest level is Gabriel.
I definitely agree with
that.
In
a lot of the big games, he does seem like he was quite rash in the big games a couple of seasons ago, but recently it feels like he sort of inflates to meet the occasion. Arsenal at certain points this season, partially because of injuries or conservatism from Arteta or whatever, have had to weather teams late in games. You think about City away at the Etihad before City turned into the crap team they've been since then. That was City where we were like, City are probably favourites to win the league still, and Arsenal were down to 10 men for a full half, and Gabriel was astonishingly good. Same against Spurs away when they were flying in the autumn. And Arsenal's defence has been incredible in the Champions League and incredible in the league. It's at least in the conversation for best defence in the world alongside Inter, Atleti. And I do think Gabriel is an enormous part of that. I think he's an underrated passer. He's great in the air. He's really good in the one-on-one. I think he transmits a kind of calm to the team, because now Arsenal just look like, oh, you have the ball and you're attacking us. We're just not worried. They never look worried defensively, which is kind of an insane thing to say about Arsenal. And if Arsenal probably going to come second this season, I think. And they could yet win the Champions League. If they do, then it will be down to the defence. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
And the fact they've got this far, I think, is clearly down to the defence. They absolutely blew PSV away. But part of the reason that the team can go forward sometimes is just because they know that their centre-backs can deal with basically anything. Yeah. So I think that Gabriel was underrated for a little while because all the focus was on Saliba. But this season, I think he's been the better of the two centre-backs.
I really like Gabriel. I've always really liked Gabriel. And I agree, he's always had a bit of a screw loose in a way, but he started to put that into a positive energy now of a winner's mentality rather than a liability. I really like him. Obviously, massive goal threat as well, which we love.
He's been the better centre back out of the two.
I agree.
So.
The goal threat is that I didn't even think about that, but that's such an insane thing to get from corners.
When you talk about Arsenal winning the Champions League, I've said before that Arsenal winning the Champions League would be hilarious. I think this season. Really I think there would be
the fans would actually lose that.
There would be the entire country would melt down in different ways. There'd be the Arsenal positive meltdown. There'd be so many people who have spent all season slating Arsenal would then be oh
damn,
oh god.
Literally.
I'm gonna go Gabriel. I prefer Gabriel to Saliba as a pick. Generally, over the past couple of years, actually, probably.
Sure.
No, that's fair enough. Ollie, that's absolutely fair enough. Patrick, you can start with the left back shout.
So you prefer Gabriel to Saliba, but you're also picking him over Bastoni.
Correct. Both. Yes. He was when Gabriel was mentioned as the left centre back pick earlier on the right. I was like, he's going to be the left centre.
No, this season he's been fantastic. Arguably maybe the best centre back in the league.
Yeah,
arguably.
He's got a shout.
Yeah.
Patrick, left back.
Okay, so I'm cheating a little bit, but I don't think it's not unlike Hakimi in a way. I'm going to pick Federico Dimarco.
Okay.
Obviously, he's a left wing back, I guess.
That's fine.
But he's got 8 goal involvements domestically. They're still alive in the Champions League, and I actually think they're quite an interesting matchup for Bayern. Look, they've got to get past Bayern and Barcelona to get to the final, but Inter are quite well set up for those sorts of teams, who are going to try and pin them in, and they'll defend and have counterattacks. It's going to be like Arsenal against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So I think, and the thing is, when we're talking about Inter counterattacking, we are talking about a couple of guys. We're talking about Çalhanoğlu and Bastoni trying to hit Dimarco, Thuram, sometimes Lautaro Martinez. Dimarco is such an enormous creative threat from left wing back. He really does dominate that flank in a very similar way to Hakimi, which is why I think it's okay to put him in at left back. He is he's what a fullback kind of was conceived as being 15 years ago. It's just that now that's a wing back. But he leads the team in passes into the penalty area. He leads the team in progressive reception. So outlet passes are always looking for him. He scored. He's got an incredible record from free kicks as well. He's super dangerous. So having a guy, and he's not a defensive slouch. He does less defending now just because they want to get value from him going forward. But fundamentally, I think Inter are the best team in Italy, and they should now go on to win the title, having a game in hand and a little points cushion. And in the Champions League, I think they're a threat to basically anyone. So they could go out against Bayern, but if they made the final, I would genuinely not be shocked. So I love Dimarco, and I think he deserves a little bit of shine.
No, I think it's a good, very, very good option. That left
Inter just doesn't work without him.
Yeah, that left flank for for Inter, like defensively, Dimarco and Bastoni is just ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. So my left back options, I was looking at a couple, and you mentioned obviously one of the teams, Bayern Munich. Davies this season's had a really, really good year. He's had a very, very good season. And obviously there was all that talk about his contract situation. And in the end, he looks like he's going to sign a new deal. But I haven't gone for Davies. I've gone for the other Bundesliga, kind of more of a left wing back option at Bayer Leverkusen. And it's Grimaldo. This guy's on nearly, I think he's on 10 assists or 11 or 10 goal contributions already this season. Several in the Champions League, a bunch in the Bundesliga. Is he playing to the level he was playing last season? Probably not, but he was the best left back in the world last season. And Bayer Leverkusen have had a slight drop off, as kind of everyone expected they would do after achieving what they did last season. Plus, on top of that, Bayern kind of went out in the summer and went, okay, let's pick up a DM, which we need. Obviously, he got injured, but then Kimmich became unbelievable. And they went and got Elise, who's obviously doing ridiculous things so far for them. And Harry Kane, who we might mention a little bit later, is also doing very, very good things as well. But Grimaldo is still one of the best left-backs in the world. Attacking-wise, I mentioned it about Hakimi, but he is also up there for attacking fullbacks and just doing ridiculous things kind of on the edge of the opponent's penalty area and inside that box as well, touching in the top 2% of the world of fullbacks for these numbers. It's also really nice, I think, the Grimaldo story of this guy who later on in his career had this move to Bayer Leverkusen and no one really expected what to happen, and for him to just dominate this left flank like he has, and again this season like he has. I don't know, there's a lot of talk obviously with Bayer Leverkusen around the likes of Wirtz and what happened for him in the summer, even Boniface up top. There's a sort of talks about him and other players too, and because Grimaldo is a little bit older, he's never really in that conversation. But if someone went and picked, he's only 29 years old. If someone picked him up, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, what a disastrous move that is. If anything, you are improving your left-hand side and your left flank because of what he is doing on the ball and what he gives to a team when you kind of position him for your side on that left side. He is ridiculous. He can make any kind of creative situation into something. He is someone where if you need him at times to basically play left wing, he will do that as well. Can step into midfield too. He does that as well for Bayer Leverkusen. He's got every asset to his game. And so, yeah, he's kind of my left back shout as well. Thought about Davies, but in the end, Grimaldo's still doing a very, very good job.
Quite short. Short defence.
How tall's Dimarco?
Pretty small. He's like 5'7", 5'8".
I think Grimaldo's taller, isn't he?
I think I'm going to go for Dimarco, mainly because then we have a goalkeeper from Liga, a right back from the Spanish league. Oh no, we've got two Spanish league players. Damn, that's a shame. But yeah, we've got good balance now.
Okay.
But that, I feel like there's been, in my head, like Dimarco is the one who's probably I feel like spoken about the most of left backs. Yeah. Like I feel like there's not, the left back quality seems to have gone down a bit.
Well,
maybe
Andrew Job, a few of them got a little bit older. Like Robertson's now nowhere near the level he was playing to. Obviously, to be fair, I know they've been bad this season. And he's had not the best of games sometimes, but like Gabriel at City has still been pretty good.
Yeah.
He was obviously sometimes a worthy shout at left back.
When you think of like the big the big challenging teams in Europe, like what are the left backs like? There's no one who I'm like, oh yeah, he's by far and away.
Men's done pretty well at PSG, but still not the level of Dimarco. Like Dimarco's done very, very well.
Really good against Liverpool, wasn't he? Anyway, no, I'm gonna save my overall to ones that I'm 100% sure on.
Sure.
Dimarco is absolutely
Adam Wharton holding midfield, pending.
Absolutely fine. Okay, DM. I'm going to jump forward for this one. There's a few options here. There are a couple of hipster picks. There are a couple of guys who've obviously done great stories like Gravenberch this season to come out of basically not being picked. But Caicedo.
Get out of here.
Caicedo this season's having a really good year. I know Pat's not a massive fan. I
am a massive fan.
But in terms of...
I'm a massive fan.
You are a bit critical about him sometimes this season.
Well, that's because I think he's deserved a little bit of criticism sometimes this season.
But I think Moises Caicedo is having to do so much work for this Chelsea side.
He is. He definitely is.
And there is something about him when you watch him where he'll win challenges and win the ball back out of situations where I think, how on earth have you done that? How have you got your leg in there and come out with the ball in this situation? Sure. And for me, what I want my DM to be doing is this ball winner. And I feel for him sometimes because I do think he's been let down in a lot of other areas and he has to do so much work and so much covering because of this. And that's where I think maybe the criticism has also come from, because he's also having to cover for other guys and having to, when the right back's playing into midfield and he's now having to shift out to right back, he's getting kind of done there. But if Caicedo was playing in this best team in the world, he would be the perfect player for this DM position.
Yeah.
I'm not saying his passing is exceptional or absolutely incredible, but it's fine. Like it does a good job at it. He's able to pick out the right passes. He's able to play players through. He's able to give it to the person who's normally the better passer than him to do things here. But as for his defensive contribution to this Chelsea side, I dread to think where Chelsea would be without someone like Caicedo this season. He's playing so much football as well, having to play in the Europa Conference sometimes, having to play every single Premier League game for Chelsea as well. And when guys like, I don't know, Enzo Fernandez has dropped it, or when Cole Palmer more recently, I might have to mention him later, but Cole Palmer has dropped it more recently, he is still there giving. I feel like last season, the first half of the last campaign, he was kind of getting into his stride at Chelsea. This year, from game 1 to now, we mentioned players who are giving 7 out of 10 performances.
Yeah.
I think that's the same for Caicedo. I really do.
Okay, look, I think that's fair. If you like, one of the inferior Premier League defensive midfielders, that's totally fine. I've gone for João Neves in this position. I kind of debated this because I would have liked to have found a home for Vitinha as well, and he is a more important passer. But João Neves has been an amazing passer. His passing is only just the volume's less, but the progression in it is only just below Vitinha. But his defensive contribution has been crazy. The guy's winning nearly 5 tackles and interceptions a game for a team that has all of the ball. In the Champions League, he's certainly been a difference maker.
Yeah,
he was absolutely staggering in both legs against Liverpool, I think. And Liverpool's midfield just had no answer to PSG's. He's also got 10 goal involvements for them this season from that deep midfield role. He stepped in and played right back recently, where he was also really, really good.
So is Caicedo.
And that defense, but he hasn't been very good there. Chelsea's defense has been crap all season. But he's been vital to their defensive solidity. They have been impossible in the Champions League after he's bedded in. I think this is clearly the best PSG side we've seen maybe ever, but I would say probably since Ancelotti. And I really do think that the balance of this midfield with him, Vitinha, plus one other, whether it's Zaire Emery, whether it's Fabian Ruiz, has just been remarkable to witness. He is the closest thing we have at the moment to N'Golo Conte, right? Where he does feel like he's absolutely everywhere. His size is his advantage. He's so nimble that he's really hard to get the ball off, and he just sort of nips around people. And
you think he's good defensively, as Kante?
Oh, I don't think anyone's as good defensively as Kante, but he's the closest that we've got right now, and he's a much better passer than Kante. And Kante was a good passer, but Neves is an incredible passer. He's just an amazing all-round defensive midfielder, and I think it's no surprise that they looked a little bit shaky in the autumn, and since he's really bedded into that side, plus obviously the changes to the attack, they have been amazing. And this season, after Real Madrid went through against Atletico Madrid, you see all the British pundits come out and they're like, well, you can't bet against Real Madrid. They've got to be favourites now. Real Madrid are not that good this season. And if they win the Champions League, it will be against the odds. They've done that before, but it will be against the odds. PSG could easily win the Champions League this season. They look incredible right now. I think the only team in the tournament who has a claim to being, maybe definitively better than them is probably Barcelona. And I've been amazed by him. And they got him for kind of a song. They got him for half of what Chelsea paid for Caicedo.
People were talking about 100 million for him originally, weren't they, at Benfica?
And he's a kid.
They always say, there's the great story that, is it Raul, who's the attacking mid, Portuguese legend, Rui Costa, who's the sporting director. And it was when Chelsea came in for Enzo Fernandez, and they were like, the first bid. And Benfica were like, let's try a hand here. And then Chelsea came with 120 mil, and they were like, oh my God. They did not care because they had Neves there.
But then sold him for half his buyout.
Yeah, which is weird as well. But that they go to financial issues or something. Anyway,
who knows, man?
Different story that. But they're your options: Caicedo, the best DM in the Premier League, or Neves, who's probably more of a central midfielder.
Neves is small as well, very small.
Best DM in the Premier League.
Man.
Especially not since Christmas. Rice has been the best central midfielder in the Premier League since Christmas.
Central midfielder.
He just wasn't great. I don't think. Well, he was still good. He's never bad, but he wasn't great.
Talking about a DM, my friend.
This is tough. Is
Neves really a DM?
Look at his statistics. They're better defensively than Caicedo's, and also he plays in a team that's good defensively, whereas Caicedo plays in a team that's dog shit.
So does that not say what Caicedo's doing more impressive, Ollie?
No, it suggests that Caicedo's having no impact.
I think he's having a huge impact, but that's up to you, Ollie.
The thing is,
the Champions League race
of those two, I think I prefer Caicedo, but I don't think Caicedo has been the best DM in the Premier League.
So you're going to use an
so
overall?
I'm gonna overrule. And again, I really like this player. I liked him when he was at Ajax. I think his little spell where it kind of looked like, is his career kind of going to go nowhere, was a bit stressful. And now, I think Gravenberch this season has just been quality. Like, I think he's such a silky smooth player. I think that was like a real problem position, so we thought, for Liverpool going into this season. And he's just slotted in. And I like a player who kind of comes from nowhere in a way and like defies expectations. And I think Gravenberch has just been brilliant. And like every time I've watched Liverpool, he kind of has a Van Dijk-ish aura about him. Just makes everything look very easy and just kind of
super calm.
Strolls
super
around
calm.
And so I'm going to overrule both of you.
That's fair enough.
I'm going to go with Gravenberch.
Yeah, why not?
It's not that mad of a thing to say. Fair enough.
I've got to have some Liverpool representation in the defence as well, I think, because I did.
Yeah, we didn't put Van. Put
Van Dijk in, so I need to make sure
that's fair enough.
There.
That's good. That's a good point. Okay, Pat, your centre midfielder, my friend.
Joshua Kimmich. This Bayern team, I think, is the most dominant Bayern team since Pep left. I think that's fair to say. Despite the fact that with jury's kind of still out on company.
Yeah. Very weird like situation in a way
Well, especially with Kimmich, too, right? Where like they spent this whole time like under Tuchel saying, we need a 6, we need a 6, we need a 6. And everyone was like, don't you have Kimmich? And then Tuchel leaves, Kimmich comes back in and immediately looks like the best play dictating central midfielder in the world. And that is exactly what he is. He's the best passer into the final third in Europe this season. Bayern, when you play against Bayern, they lock you in with the press and they play downhill. Like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like when you were at school and play football against somebody and the field was on a slope.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's like.
Penned in.
Yeah, you just can't get out at all. And people always want to give the attackers credit for that, but these are not amazing defensive attackers at Bayern Munich. And the guy coordinating it, I do think, is Kimmich. And when you've got a young coach, having that player on the field who does organise play, I think is incredibly important. Kimmich runs everything. Like he runs everything, both defensively and in attack. Because I think we would also say that we have issues with their defensive personnel.
Yeah, definitely.
Kim and Jay and
yet they've absolutely been running away with the league this season. The defense has been imperious. In the Champions League, their numbers are astonishing, and I don't know. Like I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Vinny gets out coached as the tournament goes on, but I think that Kimmich is the standout player on that team. Olise's got a lot of credit and he's been very good. Kane's got a lot of credit and he's been very good. But Kimmich is the one guy there who I think has been unimpeachably good this season. And I don't think any of it works without him. I really don't. He almost always makes the right decision. He can cover 2 positions for you.
Yeah, right back. Yeah.
He's just an amazing player. And I think that somebody from Bayern has to go into this team. And I think it should be him.
That's tough. That
Could be someone later on as well. Did he sort out his contract with them yet?
Yeah, he signed. Doesn't he just?
Is he signed a new deal?
I don't remember if they. I don't think they've confirmed it, but it apparently.
It feels like it is going to be Bayern.
You know, Harry Kane has that weird little chat app thing.
Oh yeah.
I saw on his story. It was like, Harry Kane being like, great news about Kimmich's extension. So I imagine if it's gone Harry Kane's chat.
Okay, then it feels quite confirmed. Then okay,
that's how
interesting.
I found out. Modern day 2025 news breaking. That is.
Yeah, through Harry Kane. Just your mate Harry. Okay, well, from your mate Harry to your mate Jude. That's my suggestion. I think Jude is overly hated. I don't know what it is with Bellingham, but
this has nothing to do with hating him. He just hasn't been that good.
He has still been pretty goddamn good.
God. I don't even think he's their most important central midfielder. Sometimes he is when they can't create anything.
Yes.
You know, he's that third man runner. But Real Madrid have been not good in the Champions League. Real Madrid have been not very good domestically. Bellingham looks like he has no idea where he's meant to be a bunch of the time. He got deservedly sent off the other week.
I think Jude.
I like the player, but that's mental.
I think Jude this season is kind of being attacked at times for being so good over the last couple of years. And even though he's maybe had games where he's been a little bit off it so far this season, I still think he is one of the best midfielders in the world. And keep in mind, this is a Real Madrid team.
But we're talking about this season.
No, I know. But this is a Real Madrid team as well, where he's having to kind of at times sacrifice himself to let Vinny stay where he needs to be, to let Mbappe be where he needs to be. Obviously, Rodrigo is another player who's actually incredible.
Because you're less talented than Vinny and Mbappe.
No. But Jude, I think what he does in midfield, he's one of my favourite players to watch because he is
Jude Bellingham.
Agree.
He is, when he's on the ball, an absolute flat track bully. I think his work rate for the team is exceptional. If you look at his numbers, they're still some of the best. They are the numbers of one of the best midfielders in the world, because that's what he's doing for Real Madrid at times. He is still absolutely fantastic. Okay, is he as good as he was last year? Probably not. But last year, he was one of the best midfielders in the world. And I think he's still within that kind of category to talk about him here for this central midfield role. Like, I wouldn't be putting him in the 10 position, so I think there are a couple of other guys that we'll talk about for him. But Jude so far this year, like, okay, yeah, he might not be the guy, but of what he was doing in previous seasons. But even for England at times, like, I think there's this weird thing where people look at Jude, and because for English fans, because he's playing for Real Madrid, they think every single time an England play, he should be the guy that gets us out of something, or that kind of always finds the miracle for us all the time. And at times he did do that during the Euros last season. But to talk about this season, yes. Is he as good as maybe last year? No, but he is still contributing to nearly 20 goals and assists so far this season. He's having to play in a slightly different position to where he was playing last year. At times he was playing up top last year for Real Madrid. And he's still
playing in his natural position, is what you're saying.
Yeah, playing in his natural position.
Amazing
And now
adaptation.
and still doing a very, very, very good job at that as well. Like, and I think this is on top of as well, Carlo Ancelotti, we've already said, but not being as good as he was last year coaching wise. Like, he still hasn't figured out what to do with this Real Madrid side. And I think at times Jude has had to kind of coach himself in this Real Madrid midfield. Oh,
God. Well, like, I agree. Like, I actually really like both of these players. Ignoring performances this season, I'm big fans of both of them. I don't know, maybe it's because of like the amount that Bellingham is spoken about positively and negatively in England and around the world. I have very strong feelings toward Jude that, like, I want to, like, just take him under my wing, you know, and be like, don't worry, ignore them. But then I do appreciate that he has not been as good as he maybe can be or has been this season. And like I said, I think Kimmich is, like, seriously underrated, actually, and has been for a really long time. Oh God, I want to put both of them in, to be honest. So maybe do
you want us to talk about our 10s first and then go from there?
Pick two.
What I might do is I might pick Kimmich now,
to
partner Gravenberch, and then I will definitely keep Bellingham in mind for the number 10, and maybe overall then. So I'll do that because also a midfield of Gravenberch, Kimmich, and Bellingham would be
not too bad. Yeah, it'll probably be okay as well.
I don't think it'd be great in attack.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll talk about my I'll talk about my other midfielder then here. And I was really tossing and turning between either Wirtz or Palmer.
So you're going to have two Chelsea midfielders in your midfield.
Yeah.
Unbiased.
Anyway.
Like what? The sixth best team in the Premier League deserve two players.
That doesn't matter though. Sixth best team can still have two of the best players in the world.
Not been amazing since Christmas.
Okay. So that's
he's not been terrible, but he's still, he's not as bad as some people have said.
So
but he hasn't been amazing.
I would agree. Not past Christmas. I would say the last month. I think he has been poor. I think he has been poor. However,
I didn't say poor.
He is still. he is still. Like, you watch Cole Palmer play, he is still, again, if you're a stats guy, at the top of every single number of every single metric, doing ridiculous things. Shots for an attacking midfielder, he's the top of. I think he's first in the world for shot creating actions this season. What I think Palmer is really unfortunate with, maybe more so than Caicedo,
that was only because Saka got injured.
Maybe more so than Caicedo, is the fact that the guys he's surrounded with have really let him down. Really
that is true.
He hasn't had a goal or an assist in, I think, close to over a month now, and he's still, or maybe even longer, and he's still got 20 goals and assists so far in the Premier League this season.
I find him to be quite bad in the big games. That is, I think, something he still needs to work on. It's not really a criticism, because he is still, like, in his second season basically as a starter, but like, when I watch him in the big games, I quite often am quite shocked by his lack of
Chelsea are bad in the big games. Like, if you look at Chelsea's record against the top six over the last 5 years,
it's terrible, isn't
we've won once against United.
Agreed, but there are still, but like Man United, for example, like Bruno still puts up numbers in the big games, and Man United are crap in all their games.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's a fair assessment. But again, I would go back to him being like, he's got no support around him, and like the defence at times have been.
Is that true? I mean, like, the players he's got around him, like look at Newcastle. Newcastle get more out of Murphy than you get out of Nkunku or Madueke, who are vastly more talented players.
Okay,
that is a coaching issue.
Sure, okay,
and I do think that's also something that Palmer should be.
But is that not the? But again, that's like backing my point of the guys around him are not performing. Then, like if they are better than these players, they are not performing to their level.
But it's weird to say. But I don't know how if you could separate performances like that. You're like, well, they're just not performing.
You can literally look at
the team as a whole is like he is the guy that everything runs through.
Since Christmas, no player has created more opportunities for these players.
I'm not denying this.
And Cole Palmer hasn't got a single assist.
I love Cole Palmer. I think Cole Palmer's amazing. I agree that but I'm not saying that my criticism of him is not based on him not getting assists since Christmas. Yeah. It's just based on I think that overall his level of performance has dropped off slightly post Christmas from a very very high level. Yeah. Before Christmas, I'd say he was playing like one of the best in the world. Now he's playing like a very good attacking midfielder. That is a great thing to be at his age and in a terrible team, as part of a terrible club under a terrible manager. I'm joking. I'm joking. Apart from them being a terrible club.
Okay.
But I just think that it is patently ridiculous to say the best team in the world this season features 2 Chelsea midfielders.
All right. Well, Caicedo isn't there though, is he?
Like but that is the logic of a madman.
I think soon Palmer will start to be spoken about like Ozil. Is my hot take when Ozil was at Arsenal and like goes missing in big games. He doesn't seem like because Palmer's quite like languid in the way he moves around sometimes. I thought that especially in the Liverpool game, I was like,
sure.
You could look at him and I don't agree. For what it's worth, I think Ozil was unfairly treated, and I don't think Palmer would be deservedly painted with that brush. But I think people will soon start to accuse Palmer of not trying in big games.
Really?
Yeah.
Palmer's still got a bit of a bounce in that he's new. Yeah. And again, like he has been astonishing. But like you look at the criticism for other young players around, like even criticism for someone like Garnacho, who's much younger. But Saka now, it's kind of like we expect you to be this good. And if you're not this good, you're crap. Everybody hates Martinelli now, despite the fact that he had like a 20 goal in his season for Arsenal at 21. Like Palmer is still kind of in the phase where everyone just loves him. Probably because he's English.
I don't know.
He's like a nice English white boy.
Hatred.
Is what they like about him.
I see a lot more hatred for him this season online than I do. Obviously than last.
I don't see anything. I don't see serious criticism. I see people who are like, he's crap. He hasn't got a goal and assist. But I don't see. You never read a negative press.
But I think when you watch him,
you do read about like every other player.
Okay, but that's a different story, right? Like that's a whistle.
No, but that's kind of what I'm saying. Like I don't think that he hasn't yet come in for serious criticism from reasonable people.
Okay, sure.
Chelsea fans aren't really on him.
No. I mean, actually, I have seen some.
United fans get on Garnacho. Arsenal fans they even get on Saka. Like it happens to every other player.
But I think that's just like those.
Foden also somehow.
But now we're talking about the
weird.
But now we're talking about the guys in the fan base who are mental, and that is literally a different conversation.
That's not entirely true. Like those are some of the voices, but I do think that people expect world-class performances from Saka, and when they don't get them, they're like, Saka's been crap today, when he like puts up like 0.5 expected goals and assists.
Okay.
Whereas again, this is not really a criticism of the standard of Palmer's play, so maybe it's like a bit of a red herring. I just think Palmer is an amazing player. We are yet to see what happens at the higher level for him. So can he contribute in the biggest games? Can he also take on more defensive responsibility, which he probably is going to need to do going forward?
I don't know. So that side of it, I'm interested in.
I also think Chelsea
I don't know whether Chelsea's pressing and stuff like that will ever... You know how we
that's going to be the next phase, right?
But you know how we mentioned like Salah, for instance, where Liverpool's tactic is like, let's just not get him involved in the defensive work. I think that's probably what Chelsea will end up doing with Palmer.
But I also think that Chelsea are in a weird phase, right, where Chelsea were able under Maresca the first like 6 months up to Christmas. Months. They were able to play a style which exactly suits the game that Palmer and Jackson want to play, which is essentially counter-attacking through the middle. Yeah. Like they were able to counter-attack at pace all the time. After Christmas, they've been able to do that less, and they're trying to consolidate their possession game. And the question is, how elite a creator is Palmer going to be playing a different sort of game, playing essentially settled possession? How good is he going to be playing like Odegaard's role, which is a very different kind of game?
But then statistically, like he is doing well at that. Like we've the whole stat around him, creating all these chances, number one in the league, and no one's converted.
But he's not.
Would suggest that.
I don't think he looks world class doing it in the way that before Christmas I was like, you look astonishing. I still think he will be world class just because he's young enough and he's still putting up crazy numbers. But I'm saying that like the kind of team that he's going to play in is going to change going forward. How their ceiling is going to come down to how well Palmer adapts to that change.
That's fair enough. And I would also say in the last month, you started to see him get a bit more frustrated, where he is taking the shot because he wants to score a goal and just be like, oh, I've scored a goal now. That whole thing after that penalty miss, then that Instagram story being like, I'll be back and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think that's
the test of an elite player, isn't it? It's like, obviously last season it was literally perfect for him. He just couldn't do anything wrong. And it's like, okay, now he's had a bit of a dip. Yeah, it's obviously really small in the context of his career. Like, how do you bounce back from that? And when things are changing, when the tactics are changing, when teams are starting to really like try and shut him and exclusively him down because I think, well, we can leave Madueke and Sancho because what are they realistically going to do compared to Palmer? That'll be a good test for him.
It will. But yes, still for me, I'll put Palmer forward. I love Wirtz. I think Wirtz is an incredible player. I can't wait to see where he ends up going in the summer. It feels like maybe it will be Man City. Who knows? But absolutely exceptional player. Love him to bits. But I just wanted to talk about Palmer instead.
Fair enough.
And we did speak about Palmer.
We
did indeed. Who's your other midfielder, Patrick?
Pedri. Pedri.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Somebody pointed out, I think it was John Muller pointed out the other day, it was in one of the Barcelona games against Benfica. And he was like, you watch João in this game and he's doing insane things. And you watch Raphinha and he's doing insane things. And I still think the best player on the pitch might be Pedri. And I do think that is the experience of watching Barcelona. Like, João does loads of eye-catching stuff. Raphinha is just contributing to goals and assists at an alarming rate. But the guy who makes everything work is a 22-year-old midfielder who is not really a 10, right? Like, he does far more defending than you expect to get from him. Barcelona's high press is the source of all their success this season. Like, the reason that their defense is not getting absolutely ruined constantly, despite playing this incredibly high line, which is basically on the halfway line, at which point you might as well not play a high line because the halfway line is that line. Like, the reason they were able to pin teams in and break them down, the reason that they are able not to get cut through all the time is because of this press. And again, Pedri, I think, is a coordinating figure in the press. He's also if not the best attacking passer in the world, then very close to it. I think he's got only like 8 goal involvements this season, but routinely the person who plays the pass that breaks open the opposition defense is Pedri. And I think we've just become used to his excellence because he's been around for quite a while despite being so young. The fact that he is just 22 is kind of mind-boggling. And ever since he broke through at Barcelona, I mean, obviously before that, that's Palmer's. But ever since he broke through, he has looked like the most penetrative passer, one of the most penetrative passers that we've ever seen. And I think often these Barcelona midfielders, because they are like tricky and technical, and I think there's still this mindset, especially among British commentators, that like you're either defensive or you're technical. I think they don't get credit for the defensive parts of their game. But he always knows when to press. He always knows. He can always sense when a ball is there to be cut out, and he has an amazing sense for when a pass is going to open up. You can see him watching for how a bit of movement is going to create the tiniest bit of space. And the thing about him is he's got like the Barcelona rationality to him, which is one of the best descriptions I ever read of Messi was a guy called Lucas Tank who used to work for Spielverlagerung, and he said the thing about Messi is he does incredible things sometimes, and in between those times he always does the right thing. And with Pedri, I'm like, Pedri always does the right thing, and occasionally he does the incredible thing. To do that at this age in a team which is so good, this Barcelona team, and kind of playing a German style, like in La Liga, which is kind of weird as well.
It's great.
he's just amazing. Like he's just amazing, and I'm really guilty of not like giving him the attention, because when I think about like my tastes in players, like if you said who's best out of Bellingham, Musiala, and Pedri, I'd be like, Bellingham and Musiala are much more to my taste.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
But I think Pedri might actually be the best of those three players.
Do you not think though that is he? Maybe it's more the traditional look at it, but is he playing in that position then for this final midfield role? Do you think?
I don't think it matters. Like I think in a 3-man midfield, you have a guy whose job is to help the attack.
Okay.
And whether that's as a 3rd-man runner in the case of Bellingham we've seen in the past, or whether it's as more of a conventional number 10, or whether it's as Pedri, who could do basically a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if we had a 3-man midfield and the most advanced member of it was Iniesta, you'd be fine with that.
Yeah, true.
And Pedri is that sort of player, right? He's not a conventional 10, but he's clearly not an 8 or not just
6,
an 8.
yeah.
Like he's capable of doing everything. And if you have Pedri in your team, what you're never going to say is, I just don't think there's enough creativity.
Yeah, very true.
You know,
it's a very good point.
We're a bit toothless.
It's a very good point.
There's also a little bit where over the last few years, obviously, it was kind of well documented how much football he was playing, and it kind of injuries did like briefly threaten to derail him because he got injured in the first game of the Euros, didn't he? And it was like, oh god, like is Pedri ever going to be able to?
There's that picture of him at the Olympics, isn't it? Where he's like first season. Yeah, he was like 45 years old. Yeah,
played like 85 games.
Yeah.
I think it was genuinely 85 games.
Jesus. So there are your options, my friend. I guess you've also got Jude there as well.
Palmer, Pedri.
Not a bad 3 to pick from.
I am going to rule out Palmer off the bat.
Wow.
I hate to say it. I do hate to say it. I've seen that obviously Pedri and Bellingham has been like a bit of a discussion this season between Barca and Madrid fans, I think. Because, as you're right, they're very...
Rightfully so.
They're so different in like, you're right, Bellingham... You know, sometimes people accuse Bellingham of making wrong decisions and not actually playing that well, but will always seem to pop up at the big moments, whereas Pedri is just like consistently like... And he's obviously flying this season. So... I mean, I've got to go back to the definition of the team, I suppose, which is this season.
Yeah.
And Pedri has been amazing this season. I much prefer Jude Bellingham as a player, and if I was just to build a team to play a game tomorrow, I'd pick Bellingham. But on this season, I'm going to go Pedri.
I think that's fair enough. It's not. I don't think anyone would be going at you for that decision. Okay, I don't mind starting off with the right winger. I'm going to keep it short and simple. Mohamed Salah.
Yeah.
Done pretty well this season.
He is good.
He's done pretty well this season, hasn't he? This season just gone. He looks like he is statistically playing the best he's ever played for Liverpool. Definitely been rewarded by not having to kind of do as much defensive work.
Yeah.
Obviously, the whole game is about getting the ball to Salah in the perfect opportunity for him to score. Done really, really well. I mean, one of the other guys I was considering is like Lamine Yamal, who again has been absolutely outrageous. Age-wise, it's ridiculous the talent that he is. But when you look at how many goals, how many assists as well creatively Salah's been how good he's been this year, it's hard to just not suggest Salah. So I'm not going to go into in depth about how amazing he's been because it's obvious.
Also, like I saw the stats recently of like Diaz, Jota, Nunez, and Gakpo to a lesser extent. Because he's been injured, but over the past like few months, like they are basically like not contributing anything.
Yeah,
and it's like everything has been Salah. I know that Liverpool have like had a mini dip over the past few weeks, but like, Salah is. He's almost single-handed. Well, he is basically single-handedly carrying that attack.
The thing with Salah that's really tough, I think, is that like when people think about right wingers, they want to think about these guys that are taking on every man.
Yeah,
he does do that, and he's not like. There's that conversation where people say like Salah is better than Henry. In the Premier League history, and I get why people suggest it. However, like if you look at how they both play football, obviously everyone's going to pick Henry. Yeah, it's so much more enjoyable. But then it's hard to look at Salah's numbers and be like, that's really bad. Because they're obviously absolutely outrageous.
It's a different era, though, man.
It is.
Like, I do think that if you took the most talented players of that era and put them in, like, Klopp's Liverpool or Pep City, then I would expect Henry to have scored a lot of goals.
Exactly.
If you'd had him play like Aguero for that City, I think
you are right.
Quite good.
I do think that Salah, like, the best players in Prem history, I think, always have what I'd say is like a legacy season where it's they've gone and they've won the league and they've been by far the best player. And this season for Salah has obviously been that. It's probably been his best ever season in the Prem. Like, I know he's had some spells where he's been really... That was the beginning of 21-22 where he was like unplayable for a few months. But if he ends this season with... Well, how many goals is he on now in the league?
He's on 27, I think, in the league. 27 and 17 assists.
If he goes and gets 50 goal contributions, which is very, very possible / probable, and Liverpool win the league, which is very possible
/ probable. Still got 8 games left, hasn't he, as well?
I mean, there's going to be some... He has to go in conversations with the best of all time in the Prem.
Well, I think that's level, is it not? Like with the best ever goal and assist tally. Henry got 44.
Yeah.
And maybe Haaland got like 45 or something. I think Haaland was 44 as well.
There was something around.
Certainly,
Haaland
Salah is 1 or 2 goal involvements away from the
he
most
should
productive
break it.
season in the Premier League history, and he's doing it Like,
did Palmer not go
32?
one more than Haaland last season? Am I imagining that?
Oh my God, shut up.
I'm being serious.
I don't know.
They were all penalties, though.
Brilliant. Salah, yeah.
Did he score any goals from open play?
Brilliant. Anyway, okay, that's Salah's the right wing option.
Okay,
Yours?
I'm putting Raphinha in. Like, Raphinha has played kind of right wing, left wing, attacking mid. Raphinha is, I think, the top scorer and the top assister in the Champions League. He's got 16 goal involvements in 10 Champions League games. He's got 37 in 37 across the league and Champions League. I think he's got something like 45, 46 in all competitions. They were writing him off. They were like, maybe we'll sell him in the summer. The theory was, this is the weak link in our attack. We've got to go and get Dani Olmo. And he has been their best attacker.
Dani Olmo.
Yamal and Lewandowski are behind him for goal involvements, considerably behind. He's like 20 ahead of Yamal.
Yeah.
And Yamal is clearly the best young player in the world. He's having the season of his life.
Ballon d'Or favourite right now, do you reckon?
I think if they win the league,
if
they win the league, certainly if they win the Champions League, then he arguably deserves it. He's got to be in the conversation, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And, we're again, hat-trick in the Champions League against Bayern.
Benfica, he did well, didn't he?
He's got goal involvements against a ton of goal involvements against Bayern, against PSG, against Real Madrid. He's just been astonishing all season long, and if he has another season like this, it'll be crazy. But he is having the season.
You sure you want to put him at the right wing, not the left wing?
I think he's the best fit for them, just because he still does want to create from the right, and it's difficult to say because he could have gone attacking mid as well. I consider him there too, but so that he gets in because he's
easy on left winger.
Yeah, but whatever.
Fair.
No, let's give you a tough decision to make.
Well, I'm going to take the similar Jude Bellingham cop-out option of I'm going to pick Mo Salah just because I can't put Mo Salah anywhere else. I can't put him on the left.
Totally fair.
Whereas Raphinha, I am very comfortable putting him on the left if I deem that to be the right.
Should we give you our
left?
You
give your left.
I'll hear you guys out.
Ousmane Dembélé. Ousmane Dembélé.
He's almost played for the middle at times, isn't he?
Yeah,
another one and on the right.
But at the same time, my striker is also somebody who's comfortable pulling out. I just don't think this is how attacks work.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Go and watch those Liverpool highlights and tell me that Dembélé was just playing centre forward in that game. He plays wherever he wants. It doesn't matter. He is showing this season the full scope of his talent.
Yeah.
And I think that anybody who will tell you that Dembélé is not one of the most talented footballers they've ever seen, I think is just wrong. Like, his talent has always been absolutely impossible to deny, but this is a season where he's finally making good on it, especially since Christmas. The one knock on him is that he was pretty good until Christmas, and he's been out of this world since. Since Christmas, I think he's been the best attacker in the world.
Yeah.
I really don't think there's an argument against that, but it's the whole season thing. He is the reason that PSG are good. He is.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the midfield's amazing as well, blah, blah, blah. But they got past Liverpool in the Champions League, where certainly in this country they'd have been considered underdogs. And I think generally they'd have been considered underdogs. He ran the game for them. He got the goal, which eventually tied up, the fixture for them. Whether he's creating on his left foot or his right foot, whether he's taking people on, whether he's dropping into the gap between midfield and attack, whether he's the goal threat or the creator, he's absolutely incredible at all these things. He's also incredibly fast. He's one of the most two-footed players in the world. He's just amazing, man.
He's so much fun to watch, isn't he?
I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, because he did not. His time at Barcelona, and obviously he was injury prone for so long as well.
Sure,
it is nice. It's
really
always nice when a player hits the heights that everyone
fulfills their potential.
Yeah,
and that's what he's doing. Yeah, I think he's absolutely fantastic. I never quite thought with the names we were going to suggest this guy would quite get there, but I did want to talk about Adam Lookman. Obviously, been very, very good for Atalanta. Had that. Obviously, in the last month, that weird where the manager of Gasperini came out, criticised his penalty. Then obviously he came out about feeling like that was annoyed. It was a crap pen, but he's done so much for that Atalanta attack so far this year. Nearly, I think he's at 20, over 20 goals and assists so far in the campaign and in Serie A and in the Champions League. Still in 27 years old, probably feels like he's going to move as well this summer. But for a guy who got relegated with Fulham to go on to do what he's done now and be almost like the spearhead of Atalanta's attack and do so well in the Champions League. Obviously, they're out of it now. But yeah, really, really good season so far this season on the left wing. Obviously, people will be like, what about Vinny? Vinny's been pretty good as well this year, but not to the level of what some of these are. My striker option, because I guess you
Well,
might...
let's pick the winger
Okay,
first.
go on.
Let's
There's your
pick the
wingers, yeah.
I think I am going to go with my next overall and put Raphinha there. But Dembélé has been amazing. Again, I think if Dembélé had been a little bit better before Christmas, then I would have probably put him in. And also, again, like, if PSG go and win the Champions League, for example, then he would absolutely walk into that team. I know it's a bit stupid that it works like that, but it does work like that, ultimately.
Sure. Even Barcola's been really good for them as well, isn't he, on the left.
Also,
I thought about him.
PSG, like, I'm quite a big believer that if a team is in a bit of a rut, which PSG, in a weird way, PSG were, because obviously people are like, they spent all this money and what are they doing? What's their identity? Just make your team fun. Like, first and foremost, just like make it fun to watch a team and then go from there. And I think PSG have done that really well. I think like Spurs did that a bit with Ange originally and with Pochettino as well. It's like, if people like, you're crap, just be like, well, we'll just be fun. and then like success will stem from there.
Yeah, and it has. It has the PSG. Okay, so my striker, it's very simple. Mr. Harry Kane up top for Bayern Munich. Been probably the best striker
my God.
in the world so far this year. 27 goals, I think, in the league. I think he's over 40 goals and assists in all competitions. It's really funny seeing Bayern Munich fans this season realise what they've got with Harry Kane. You've seen them kind of all say about this guy who works super hard. There are clips of him winning the ball back in their defensive corner. And then suddenly, as he always did with Spurs, bombing on forward, getting into the box, and whether it's creatively being able to link up with Musiala, who's obviously been another exceptional player for them, or Elise, who's been amazing on the right wing, and probably actually arguably could have been within a shout to feature in this list.
The right wing is just so good this year. That's the problem.
It is. But yeah, Harry Kane just continues to... I don't know, everyone kind of thinks like... I think Harry Kane was never like reliant on his pace, and really that's one of the things you lose as you get older. And so it's no shock that he's continued to be this elite guy. And obviously when he's playing in a Bayern Munich team who just dominate most of the games they're in, he's able to feature...
Playing in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, he is able to kind of get away with it.
Currently quite rubbish.
But it's also not like, we're not talking about someone who kind of got away with it in the Premier League. He was pretty good in the Prem as well, wasn't he?
Did go away with it.
But yeah, again, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him in the Champions League as well for Bayern Munich. Who they're facing. But yeah, Harry Kane's my
But if they just win the league, then I'm kind of like, that is just like an average Bayern season. Because there's not a serious...
Be amazing for him though, wouldn't it?
But there's not a serious contender there this season. Like a bunch of those teams, Dortmund are quite bad, Leipzig are quite bad, Frankfurt are pretty good, but not title challenging.
Leverkusen dropped off a little bit.
Leverkusen have only really been good since Christmas. They were like pretty bad until Christmas. The defense,
but it's not
really
like, but previously, but
I know.
They've won it with.
I'm just
like
saying that if they don't win the Champions League, then I would be a bit like.
Off a bit.
This is just
a normal season,
a normal Bayern season.
But you have a normal.
He's been excellent.
Exactly,
undeniably excellent.
You can have a normal Bayern season and still be amazing.
Sure. Okay, I've got Isak. Alexander Isak.
He's all right.
He had 23 goal involvements in the league last season. He's already at 24 this season. He is a much more complete player this season. He's carrying the ball into the penalty area more. He's a huge threat, left foot, right foot, head. He is putting up the best creative numbers of his career so far this season. He is in that zone at the moment where you're like, he will finish anything that comes to him. He's also an amazing facilitating player. Like, I do think he can do 85% of the creation that someone like Harry Kane does while being an amazing centre forward and an amazing ball carrier, as like a goal scorer, I guess. He just has come into his prime, has got over some injury issues because he had them at the start of the season, and he has carried Newcastle to contention for a Champions League place, which if they end up with it, given the way they started, these will be amazing, and ending a 56-year trophy drought. Like, that is scoring in the final as well. Like that, scoring as well big goals against Arsenal.
Yeah, he's brilliant against Arsenal.
You can't. That is a timeless achievement. Like, whatever anybody does this season, like Salah is going to do something that will last forever, I think. Like winning the league and putting in one of the best individual seasons in Premier League history. But a bunch of these guys are just having like really great seasons. But what Isak has done this year will be remembered forever by Newcastle fans. Mm-hmm. And he has been clearly their best player and clearly one of the league's best players. And when you hear people talk about 130, 150 mil for him,
you get it.
The fact that you don't immediately say, yeah, that's ridiculous is kind of astonishing. And that's a testament to how amazing he's been.
That is a very strong argument, I must say.
He's been really good.
You've appealed to the football fan in me there about the timeless history and
the romance.
Yeah,
Harry Kane's had a lifetime of no trophies.
Yeah,
Should have stayed at Arsenal. Big Arsenal fan. Could have won the league. He'd have won the league.
Bring him home.
He'd have won the league.
Bring him home next season. Bring him home next season.
He would have won the league.
I think I am going to go for Kane.
Oh my god!
I think I'm going to go for Kane because I think he's having. He's just
Brexit
having
energy.
Yeah,
maybe you are a
England.
Maybe you are a Palace fan.
I spoke about how funny it would be in some ways if Arsenal won the Champions League. I would also love Bayern to win the Champions League because again, it would just shut a lot of people up. I know, like, if he wins the league in Germany, then he's finally won a trophy.
Yeah,
but like, it is a tap-in.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's,
I would go that far.
and didn't win it last year
Eric
as well.
Choupo-Moting.
Yeah.
That's all I Eric Choupo-Moting.
But yeah, I think Kane's actually having a bit of an underrated season in a lot of ways. Again, I know that the Bundesliga has been bad and Harry Kane is amazing and he's playing an amazing team, but I'm a big Harry Kane fan.
I love it. I love it. So we'll go through our team quickly before we end the video. In goal, we had Pat's suggestion of Chevalier. Right back, it was Valverde. Cubarsí and Gabriel are our two centre-backs with Dimarco at left-back. Our DM was Gravenberch in a midfield pairing with Jude Bellingham and it was
Kimmich.
Kimmich and Jude Bellingham.
And Pedri.
And Pedri. Oh, did we bin off Gravenberch then?
No, it was Gravenberch,
Kimmich,
Pedri.
Okay, there we go. Gravenberch, Kimmich, and Pedri. Apologies.
just to be clear.
Oh yeah, wow. There we have it. And then on the right wing, Mohamed Salah. On the left wing, Raphinha. And up top, Harry Kane. So there we have it.
Good.
I feel like the team
Not
would
too
work
bad
as well.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
would.
good team.
Do we get manager Hansi Flick?
Ooh.
Eddie Howe?
Not Arne Slot. No, Arne Slot.
Slot?
Luis Enrique.
Luis Enrique?
Yeah,
I'd probably give it Flick.
I think Flick as well.
Yeah, I think
let's do
Flick.
that.
Just because also with those players, he'd make it really fun.
And it's hard as well with someone like Slot. You're like, how much of benefit do you reap from like the end of Klopp?
Yeah.
I'm not. This is not a criticism, but it's a little bit like the Wenger George Graham thing, where people are like, well, he inherits this great defense.
Yeah,
and builds from
and
there.
that is beneficial.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But that is a conversation for another day after he wins the Premier League. Ollie, thank you so much for joining me, my friend. If people at home want to check you out, where can they go?
Talk CPFC on all platforms: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
There you have it.
For all your Arsenal chat.
Indeed. If people want to hear your Arsenal chat, Pat, where can they go?
Nowhere. Well, they can hear me talk about non-football stuff. I'm starting a new non-football podcast with Ted Knutson from the Transfer Flow. Mandown.podcast on YouTube. You can find us on your favourite podcast app as well. We'll be talking about men's mental health, well-being, not just men, but like dating, fitness, like anything that's kind of in the, I guess, wellness space. New venture.
There you have it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Check us out on Spotify if you haven't already. Let's subscribe to the channel, like the video, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.